I'd like to welcome everyone to our weekly Bible study. Our text for this week is Job 38:3 through 11. What I'd like to do is take today's session and take a look at the book of Job itself, and then later in the week, which would typically be Friday when it would come up on our website or through an email, then I would talk about the specific text that we have, which is the 38th chapter of Job, the 3rd through the 11th verse. And so we will begin. Job is a very interesting book in the Hebrew scriptures. There are many theories about the book of Job. I know a scholar that I used to teach with. He's deeply interested in the book of Job, and he and I have talked about this many times. He's written 4 or 5 books about Job. And what he says is the reason that he's written so many books about Job is that every time he completes one book and then he reads Job again, he changes his mind about what the deeper understandings about Job should be and how he can communicate them with other people. I only say this to say that of all the biblical books, and I know that there are some people that say, oh, the Bible is just clear as a bell. All you have to do is read it. You can understand everything in it because it is it's so plain. It's like the nose on your face. It's very plain. I would like to say that I subscribe to the theory of my friend who said that if you read a Bible text and you immediately understand it, then it probably means that you don't understand it. So Job is one of those kinds of books. Job is just the Hebrew text of Job is difficult, even for people who read Hebrew perfectly. There are 200 individual words in Job that don't appear in any other place in the Bible, the Hebrew scriptures. 200. That is an amazing fact, I think. We hear about Job's patience, the patience of Job. This was made famous by a text in James that talks about the patience of Job in the King James Version. I think a better translation and a better sense of what Job is about as a book is the translation of that verse in James, which talks about the endurance of Job. Now, there are many similarities between those two words, being patient, having endurance, but they don't mean exactly the same thing. Because when people talk about the patience of Job, what they're speaking about is this character in this book who has everything, and he's famously righteous. He's a blameless and upright man. The Bible rarely speaks about human beings in these terms, but the book of Job begins that way. But what happens is the Ha-Satan, the accuser, the Satan, it's not a proper name like it will be used in further on in the Bible, especially in the New Testament when it says the devil says. It's the accuser. It's one of God's coterie that comes down, and the Satan, always with a indefinite article, talks about what he sees when God, Yahweh, has sent him down to the earth to look and see how things are going and then report back to him. And the Satan comes to Yahweh and says, Yes, I've observed many of your people down there, and there's one named Job, and he's just wonderful. He's blameless and upright. He never sins or anything. But I think it's because he has everything. And so eventually, after some conversation between Yahweh and the Satan, they decide to test Job by taking away everything for which Job is one of those people that should be grateful and thankful for all that he has. Uh, Take away Job's affluence and see what happens. So they do that. Job still remains steadfast. Uh, but eventually, the Satan touches him in such a way that Job finally loses everything, his family, his friends. His wife even tells him to curse God and die, which is not very encouraging, I would have to say. So, we have this idea that Job is undyingly patient, but what the truth is that after we get done with the prologue, we notice that there are these speeches by four uh, so-called friends of Job. The last one, Elihu, is probably not so much as a friend, but just a bystander that happens to eavesdrop on some of these conversations. But the upshot of the deal is that these three friends that come to see Job originally, they are so called friends because basically what they try to do is convince Job that if one throws in with the Deuteronomic theology, which we've talked about in these studies several times, the Deuteronomic theology says God rewards those who are good, God punishes those that are bad. So if bad things happen, that means that you must be a bad person, else God would not punish you. If you are rewarded, if you're wealthy, if you have status, popularity, power, all the rest of that business, then what that means is that you must be good and God has rewarded you. And so these three friends, one after the other, in different ways, in different sort of theological arguments, they all tell Job, you must have done something wrong, or these evil, bad, nasty things would not have happened to you. Therefore, their argument is that Job gets what he deserves. Now, throughout the book of Job, there are Job's discussions with Yahweh, one way or the other. There's kind of, Job is always talking to Yahweh. In some places, Job, puts up his fist and he's very upset with Yahweh and blames Yahweh and almost does what his wife says, which is curses God and die. There's several places in Job where Job says he wishes that he was dead. And if you look very carefully at Job 9, 22 through 24, and I'm going to read that to you. These are the most egregious things that Job will say to God. 9:22 through 24, it says, "It is all one, therefore I say, he destroys both the blameless and the wicked. When disaster brings sudden death, he mocks at the calamity of the innocent. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the eyes of its judges. If it is not he, who is it then?" And so what Job is saying is either God causes the suffering of innocent, blameless people, or he allows the suffering of the innocent and blameless people. And so this whole book of Job is a discussion of his friends telling him that he's guilty and Job arguing with God to show him a path of rightness, a revelation of what God is really up to. And the real question about this book of Job is, what kind of God is this that Job worships? What kind of God is this that rules and overrules the world? And how can we relate to a God who either causes or allows bad things to happen to good people? And of course, we always assume we are the good people, whereas Job's friends assume that he is a bad person because bad things have happened to him. Finally, at the very end of the book, after we have all of the speeches by the friends and the fourth speech is by Elihu, and it's just sort of a rehash of the other arguments. But at the end, starting with about chapter 38, God speaks to Job out of the whirlwind and asks him a series of rhetorical questions for which I don't know who can answer them, but they're very, very interesting. And so that is where we will pick up. We will pick up chapter 38, verse 4 through 11 next time. And I look forward to seeing you later on this week. So thank you for joining us today.